Hello everyone, welcome back to the BISP Solutions. My name is Anjali. So let's continue with our financial planning module under the PBCS application. So let's again have a quick recap. So we have discussed about the concept of financial planning, objectives and implementation. And after that we have seen how we can create the application in the PBCS financial module. Okay, so we need to configure and enable the features so that we can use all the available features of the pre-built application. Okay, now let's continue that what we need to do after that. So we are on the configuration part. So let's again see. So I am moving towards my financial module. So let's see how we can set the planning and forecast preparation. So from here we can choose the current fiscal year and the period we are starting the planning from November period, and then the plan start here we can make it next fiscal year also, but right now I want to start the planning with current fiscal year only. Okay, now let's click on save, and you can see here that planning I want to make monthly, forecast also monthly, and then the rolling forecast also monthly. So according to my requirement I can set it and then click on save. So it is already covered. Now let's see how we can add some more accounts in the revenue. So right now you can see the available drivers in the service revenue is our service hours as well as service rate. Okay, but as per my story, because I have added a little story just to make you understand how you can create drivers as per your requirements. Okay, so here you can see my service revenue will be generating from the training session. So whatever the number of training sessions I'll be taking, accordingly my service revenue will create. So number of training session multiplied by cost per session. So here you can see my total revenue will be generating in this way. B10 multiplied by B11. So this is number of training session multiplied by cost per session. So this will be my training cost. Similarly, if I need to calculate the product, so already product revenue is already provided by the pre-built application, but if you want you can create it in this way, number of units multiplied by rate per unit, or you can add some more things like discount, return, or any other things as well. So similarly we will be creating the drivers for everything. So I have created these drivers. Now let's click on save, and from here let's see the product revenue also. So previously I have already getting these things like the volume, average selling price, discount percentage, return percentage, right? And I have added number of units and rate per unit. So this is my product revenue drivers. Then let's click on gross profit. Now I am on the total revenue part. So right now I'm having the product revenue, service revenue, support revenue, and other revenue, then adjustment to revenue. So this is predefined, but I need to add some more accounts so that I can get my revenue revenue from trainings as well as revenue from other products. So accordingly I have created one member, and I have described data type and time balance and data storage properties according to my requirement. Then here my main purpose to calculate the KPIs, revenue KPIs, or you can say that key performance indicators or ratios. So already the predefined ratios are KPIs are revenue per employee, cost to sales, cost of sales to revenue percentage, margin percentage, contribution margin percentage. But side by side I have added my own ratios according to my requirement. So let's quickly see the requirement sheet. This is my requirement sheet. I have written the formulas manually here in the Excel sheet, and on the basis of these formulas I will be getting the calculations here separately, and we will be doing the data validation with this sheet. And similarly all these percentage of ratio I have created here in my application also. So you can clearly see this. If you already have a metadata file, so you can use this option to import the file or you can use the batch import and batch export as well. So here you can see my sales growth percentage, EBITDA growth percentage, EBITDA gross margin percentage, EBIT growth, net profit growth percent, sales expenses percentage of sales, then depreciation percentage of sales, then operating income percentage of sales, return on capital employed percentage, return on equity. So these I have added by myself, but rest already available. So if you want to continue with the rest of the KPIs, then you can do that. Otherwise, if you wish, you can add it separately. So here I have just keep the time balance property as flow only, and the data storage property is store, and the data type will be changed according to the situation. Like here I need to see the sales growth percentage, so I have selected here the percentage, and when I need to calculate only EBITDA, so I have taken here the currency. So this is again depending upon our requirement. If we have the smart list ready with us, so according to the situation you can add that also from here. So this is the data type. Now let's click on save. So everything you want to add, delete, you can just use the configuration window and use the same. Similarly, you can add some more income statement KPIs. Like right now the available KPIs are net income percent, sales and marketing expenses to revenue, other operating expenses to revenue. So these are the available revenue income statement KPIs, but rest I can add it manually. Now once it is done, come here in the expense accounts, and here you can add some more expenses. Like okay, one thing I think mistakenly I have taken there in the revenue account, but that should be taken here in the expense account. Why? Because let me show you. See, there is a traveling expense and electricity expense which I basically need to calculate. Okay, but this will be calculated on the basis of the drivers, travel expense cost per month, number of kilometer travel in a month. So on the basis of this I can get my traveling expense. So you can see my travel expense cost per month is 50, I assume, and my number of kilometers, like how many kilometers I travel in a month, so that I assumed only 25 right now. So on the basis of the 50 multiplied by 25, I am getting 1250. Similarly, I want the same calculation there in my application, so that I can prepare my financial planning accordingly. So these drivers and accounts I need to take there in the expense part. So let's do it. Let me show you how I have already added this. I think under the gross profit and the cost of sales. So yes, I can keep it here also, but I just want to keep these things there in the expense part. So let me delete it from here. How we can delete this? From actions, I can directly delete it. Okay. Or let's keep it, because in expense planning I'll be using some other account. So let's not delete it. Keep it as it is, because this is also a kind of expense under the cost of sales, right? So no need to delete, I guess. So similarly, like I have added the revenue accounts, I can add the expense account as well. Then I can add the more accounts if I want in the balance sheet. Like you can see the balance sheet drivers are DSO, that is days sales outstanding, days in inventory, prepaid expense, percentage of operating expense, DPO, accrued expense. All these things are available, but if you want, then you can create your own balance sheet drivers. Okay. Now let's come to the total current assets. So right now the current assets are these assets. So I think it is sufficient, and if you want, you can always click on add and add it from here. Cash in bank, other cash, everything is available. Okay. Let's quickly see it for the current liabilities also. So on the basis of these members, we'll be getting the financial accounts. Okay, we'll be creating. Similarly, we have the cash flow accounts also. So these are the cash flow accounts. And if you need to load the metadata for the entities, product, services, so you can directly click here and click on the browser option, so you can directly use your local system, as well as if this is already available on your cloud, so you can use the inbox option. So because I have already loaded my metadata, this is completed, you can see the status, so no need to reload. So let me show you how you can check it. After doing all these things, just do not forget to refresh the database, otherwise you cannot see the changes you have made. And if there are any issues, so that will be available in the database refresh, any errors or something. Now once it is done, let me show you the members which I have just added from here under the dimensions. So we are working on the financial modules. Our cube will be OEPFS, not Plan 1, not EPBCS. The cube will be OEP_FS. So there are some revenue drivers predefined. When I click here, so you'll see that the volume, average selling price, discount, return is already there, but I have added separately the number of units or the rate per unit. Similarly, I have added the service revenue drivers, like the service hour, service rate. So number of training sessions and cost per session is available here. Okay, because we have added this separately. Or I can add in the support as well as the bad debt if I want. Similarly, these are the drivers, and if you want to see the accounts, so under the revenue accounts, these are the available product revenue, service revenue. But if you want to create the other one, so you can add that also. Cost of sales. When I click on the cost of sales, so there is available as a labor expense, material overhead, freight, other cost of sales. And when you click on the gross profit, you will find that I have added the accounts under the gross profit like this. Revenue from trainings. Okay, I can make a shared number also. Rather than creating under the gross profit, let's do it like this. It should not be created in this way. The revenue from training should be coming under the head accounts, predefined revenue accounts, right? So let's, how we can change it from here also, let's see. Like suppose this revenue from trainings I need to take somewhere else, so just click on cut and I can add it here under the revenue accounts. I can make a separate sibling of this also, or let's change from the configuration itself, otherwise we can by mistakenly tamper this application. So I'll always recommend that please try to do not tamper the predefined application, otherwise we cannot use the available artifact. So go back to the account, revenue accounts. So basically it should be there in the okay, so this is the product revenue. I can prepare a separate sibling also if I want to create a new revenue account, but right now you can see already we have the product revenue, so our purpose should be like this should be calculated under the product revenue only. Okay, if this is required, so I'll create a separate member, otherwise if it is already there, so no need. So every calculation I'll make here for the product revenue should be coming under the head of OFS product revenue as well as OFS service revenue. Okay, I'm not changing it. I can just make one thing, that I can make a shared member of it, so that it will be visible. Like here you can see the revenue accounts are already there prepared as a shared member under the gross profit. So this we can do, so all the calculations will be visible here under the gross profit as well. So this you can do. And let's see all the revenue KPIs we have just added. The sales growth percent, EBITDA growth percentage, gross margin percent, net profit growth percentage, sales expenses percentage to sales depreciation. So everything we have just added from there in the configuration part, that is available here. Now the next step is, we have already refreshed the database, right? So after doing all these things, the configuration part is complete. So let's come here in the tools and click on variables. So from here you can select the base level members or any level members from the user variable definition. So I have added the level 0 descendants for everything already, and after that, under the user preferences, I select one member for each dimensions. So let's from here you can see that currency I've used here, that is USD, entity is finance US, then USD reporting, then scenario is OEP plan I'm using here. If I want to change it, so I can just click here, so it will be changed. Okay, then after that you can change the version, years, anything you want to change, you can just come here. Okay, now let's see, suppose I need to change the expense account. So I'll just click here, whatever I choose here in the user preferences, the similar things I'll be getting in the data form. So this thing is very important. Whatever you choose, just choose it wisely so that you can see the clear accounts there in the data forms. So right now I have selected the sales growth percent. So this is my sales growth percentage, and I can change it also. Like suppose under the expense account I want to change it, and we are first doing the revenue planning, so I am selecting it from revenue itself. So let's click on the revenue drivers, the predefined drivers, product revenue drivers. So I can select the number of units also. So this this should be the account, this should not be the driver, right? So go back here, predefined revenue accounts, product revenue. I'll be showing you the member formula you can apply here, and the calculations will be visible there in the data form. Okay, now let's click on the revenue drivers. Okay, from here click on the number of units. So in this way I'll be getting the product revenue. Now plan element is one dimension already there in the application, and its main use is like suppose I need to see the application elements in this way, like one column is calculated, one column is adjustment. So I can make adjustment, and whatever the changes will occur, it will be visible in the total or calculated column. Or I can go with the OFS load as well. Direct input normally taken when you are working on the manual process. Okay, and this is the integration. Now let's go with the OFS load itself. From here I'll be selecting one product. So I have already added the metadata for the product. So my metadata including the cars and electric motors. So I'll be selecting the HB. That is, this HB is used for the hatchback cars. Okay, so I'll be selecting this, and one service I want. So any service you can add. This metadata is prepared by myself, so this is according to my choice. If you want, you can always change it. So VM1 is the service. This is the member name. I've already added the alias as well. So now let's click on save. So once it is done, I'll again refresh the database for the safer side. So because right now we have not added any kind of business rule, so I cannot directly show you the calculation, but let's try to understand what kind of data form predefined available here. So let me show you that, then I will create the member formula. So now we are going to see the member formula. Right now we are on the driver and trend based data form. So these are the predefined data forms. This is available for revenue, expense, balance sheet, cash flow and analysis. For everything you can view the data form from here, or you can change according to your requirement. So this is a driver and trend based data form. Let's select one service also. So if there is data, so already it is available here. So this is the driver based revenue planning. From here you will select the trend, so it will change from driver to the trend based planning. Okay, and if you only want to do the driver based revenue planning, so just click here. So whatever data is available here, you will be getting the result. Okay, so this revenue from training and revenue from other products, for this thing I will try to apply the member formula on the basis of these drivers. Okay, now let's do it, how we can do that. So go back to the dimensions under the create and manage. Under my OEPFS cube, so it is advisable that please write all the drivers in one Excel sheet or one notepad, so that every time you create the member formula there will no spell errors occur. Okay, spelling errors should not be there. So let me click on the revenue drivers. So this is basically I want here. I'll just copy the spelling. I'm using a text document. This is one driver. Second one is rate per unit. Okay, so this will give me the formula for, where are my predefined accounts? Yes, here it is. So I would like to apply my member formula here. How I'll apply the member formula? Number of units multiply by, we can write the member formula, the members under the inverted commas, and with the semicolon. So let's try to apply the same. Just click on add it wherever you want to apply the member formula. Okay, so because this is a predefined account, so you can see we cannot change the data storage property from here. Okay, so because whenever we apply the member formula, the data storage property should be dynamic calc only. So I don't think so that here in this account we can apply, but let's have a try. There is already one member formula is applied, so it will be taking some variables are using here. OFS volume, total plan, average selling price. Okay, let's add some more. I'm just trying. If it works, then it's okay. Otherwise, I'll write a new member. So this is validated, right? I've just added my number of units and the rate per unit separately here. Similarly, I want to apply the member formula here also. Normally in other application, your custom application, whenever you try to add the member formula, your data storage property should be dynamic calc, otherwise there will be an error can be occur. But right now you can see, because this is a pre-built application, so the data storage property is already stored and we cannot change it, so it is also keep in mind. So now I just choose the number of training session from here. I hope this is correct as spell, or I can directly choose the spelling from here also. Revenue drivers, service revenue drivers, these are my accounts. So I'll again save it separately here. Cost per session. So this will be calculated on the basis, my revenue cost will be calculated on this basis, number of training session multiplied by cost per session. So let's write the formula also. So I copy it from here, multiply by this member, cost per session, and add it with the semicolon. Now I'll copy everything and paste it here. So member formula is valid. Save it. If it will not work, so I'll recreate one member apart from this predefined members, and I'll then apply the formula. So right now I've added the member formula in two accounts only. Later on I'll show you if you want to use the same member formula for your different ratios like sales growth, gross margin, so how you can do that. Okay, right now for the sake of testing we are just using these things. Now let's quickly refresh the database. So if you have the data file ready with you, then you can use that data file, otherwise you can load the data manually. So let's try to load from Smart View. So I have already created my user. Let me check if I can use that or not. Just give me a second. So my user is already there, so I don't think so I need to recreate it. Three 02157 is my instance. Let's log in with the credentials we have just created. So this will be the cube. From here we will select everything according to a requirement. So the scenario, if you already remember the name, you can write it, but if you don't remember, you can select it from here. So we are working on the plan scenario. Working version, USD currency. Plan element we are using here, that is OFS load. Product hatchback. HB is the member name and alias is hatchback. Service, one of the service I'll selecting from here. Mechanical repairs. Year is financial year 24. Period is I'm going to load data in November. Entity will be, we have selected one entity there, finance US, and then in the accounts, under the revenue planning, revenue drivers, predefined revenue drivers, we want to load the data here, or in the service here also. Okay, so now I'll quickly adding some manual data, like suppose number of units are 2000, rate per unit 500, let's make it 200 only. Similarly, number of training sessions, I'm making it in this way so you can side by side do the data validation also. Rate per unit is 4000. Number of training sessions are 5 and cost per session is 15,000. Submit data. Okay, this was selected twice, so I have deleted that row. Now on the basis of this we must get the calculation if the formula is correct. Let me just check it separately, then I'll show you. Here are not those members are visible. If you want to change the period, then this is the option, user preferences. Okay, so we have not selected the there is no option for period selection. Financial year 24 plan finance US, it is correct USD. The intersection we have selected here, that is absolutely correct. So this is driver based revenue planning data form, and this is driver based revenue. So we can see the changes here. We can change the year from here. Product is here. Okay, I need to apply the member formula here, revenue from training and revenue from other product. Let's go back in the dimensions. By mistake I've applied in the another account. Here we need to apply the formula basically. Let me change it from store to dynamic calc. Here from here I'll be selecting the cube. Revenue from training. So this should be the formula. So the member formula is valid. Okay, so our revenue will be calculated on the basis of number of training session multiplied by cost per session. Save, and then revenue from other products. Again, data storage property should be dynamic calc. Select your cube and apply the formula. Click on validate. So member formula is valid. If there are any errors, so it will be visible here in the last column. So it is completed. Then click on the database refresh. Now you can see that this is grey out and the calculation should appear here. Let me see that if I need to change something. Okay, so every time we are using anything here, like whatever POVs should be correct. So this OEP entity is already having all the variables, all the descendants. That's why it is using this symbol, version, scenario, currency. So we can use any of the member. Okay, we can change if we want to select the product, but all the level 0 descendants have been selected here. And here I descendants of gross profit. So we can add a separate row for the sake of calculation. We can only change, we can only make changes in the rows and columns in the data form. So click on edit. So firstly I just want to take the drivers separately here. So just right click and add the level 0 descendants. Click on OK. Similarly I'll be selecting for service drivers also, so add a separate row once again. And from here I'll select the service revenue. So this is, we want basically the level 0 descendants, and at last we want to see the account. I'm not deleting anything, I'm just adding my separate row just to see the changes I've just made here. Now select the product which you want to see. Okay, I'm writing the manual units. Let's suppose it is 200 and the rate is 4000 per unit. So you can see, because we have applied the member formula, so in this way we get the calculation. Similarly, if I want to see the number of sessions are suppose 5 and cost per session is 15,000, so we must get the calculation here under the revenue from trainings. So in this way we can get the calculation. Now we need to verify, also validate these things, that are we getting the correct result or not. So let's check it here separately. So my number of units, if it is 200 and if my rate per unit is 4000, then my product should come out as 200 multiplied by 4000. So it should be 8 lakh. Okay, but here if we see, it is visible as the revenue from other product is 66667. So it is wrong. We need to check the member formula, or we can check it individual month also. Maybe we are doing it just for 1 month and we are checking it for the whole year. So this is again the reason for wrong numbers. So let's type for just 1 month. I'm testing it individually. So if my number of training sessions, okay, this is wrong, that's why we are getting the wrong calculation. I should only test it for 1 month at a time, right? Let me delete this. Actually, I have mistakenly typed it for the whole year. That's why it is being divided among the each month. Okay, so data has been successfully removed. Now we will just test it for one period at a time. Let's do it for November only. Number of units. Okay, so number of units should be 200 and rate per unit should be 4000. Similarly, the number of training sessions are 5. Cost per session will be 15,000. Now when we click on save, so we will get the result. See, my revenue from training should be 75,000 and my revenue from other products should be 8 lakh. So how we get that? 200 multiplied by 4000, that means 8 lakh, and 5 multiplied by 70,000, 5 multiplied by 15,000 should be 75,000. So this is my training cost and this is my product revenue. So every time we make changes, we should keep in mind that are we going to calculate for just 1 month or for the whole year. So this is for 1 month. Similarly, you can apply for different months as well. Suppose in the next month my number of units change from 200 to 400 and rate per unit is same, 4000, and my number of training session increased to 15 and the cost per session is still 15,000. When now we click on save, so now the calculation took place accordingly. So 400 multiplied by 4000 should come out as 16 lakh, right? Let me write here 400 multiplied by 4000, so it should be 16 lakh. It is correctly calculated. And if I need to see the training cost, so it should be 15 multiplied by 15,000, 2,25,000. It is also correct. Okay, $15 multiplied by 15,000. Yes, it is also correct. So every time we want to see the calculation, we can first check it manually and then separately we can test. Now you can see that when we need to see the quarter 4 calculation, so it will combinedly give us the result, like November plus December. That means 5 training sessions, number of training sessions were previously 5, then we have added 15 more, so it becomes 20. Similarly, cost of sessions previously were 15,000, then we have added 15,000 more, so it becomes 30,000. So it is a quarter 4 result. And when we need to test revenue from training, so it is also getting added, 75,000 plus 225,000, it is 3 lakh. Similarly, other products were 8 lakh, then 16 lakh, so it is 24 lakh. So accordingly we get the result. Let's take a quick snapshot for the future reference. So now that we have tested this for the revenue based planning, driver based revenue planning, and if you want to make it the trend based planning, then let's see how we can do that. So again, like here we have edited, we have changed few things. Similarly, I'll click on the edit button. I'm sorry. So basically whatever you want to see in the rows, you just need to change it from here, from the edit option. And always select your correct intersection. So right now there are not those members, so for change it, I'll just edit the form. So I'm just maximizing the form size so that I can make changes here. So I just want to add few members in the rows. Let's click on the action. Sorry, this is the edit view, edit icon. So right now all the descendants have been selected. Just need to add some column here separately. Add a row. Click on edit, and from here we will select the account which we want to see for the trend based planning also. Right now we have just seen the driver based planning. Now we are looking for the trend based planning. So again I'll be selecting those accounts. Now as we have already loaded the value in the driver, so I think directly we can choose the account also, or we can select the drivers as well if we want. So under the predefined revenue drivers we have added few more like this. Let's select the same. And side by side I'll be selecting the account also. Okay, for account I'll be choosing another row. Let me select all the drivers at a time, then we'll see the rows. Number of training sessions and cost per sessions. So these are my drivers, and the next row I'll be adding for the accounts. Okay, so there is data is visible now because we have added those member which we want to see. So if there is already the data has been loaded here separately, so it is visible here in the calculated column, but right now it is appear only in the adjustments. Let's see the changes here. In the fourth quarter we were discussing things. So from here I can change, like I can adjust the values. Like suppose from 200 I want to change the particular amount or value, so I can directly change it from here. Let's make it 500 and then click on save. So now it will be calculated according to this, like 500 multiplied by 4000, and the value will be changed from previous value. So if I make 500 multiplied by 4000, so it should be 20 lakh something, right? Similarly we get the correct result. So every time we want to make changes here, we can open the quarter and we can write the figures here, and we can see the calculation changes in the total column. Now when I need to apply the percentage here for the increase and decrease, so I can apply the percent. Suppose I want to change it by 10%. Click on save. So the values will be changed by 10%. Actually, these values which are now visible in the adjustment should be visible in the calculated column, and if we want to add something, so that we can adjust here in the adjustment. So that I need to check once. Rest, I think it is clear that how you can apply the member formula and how you can see the calculations. And I think in the next session I can show you the ratios calculation, and we can do it right now also. So there is this is a predefined data form, so we cannot tamper it. You can see that one column is for the trend, the next column is for the calculated, and the last column is for the adjustment, and accordingly we see the result, right? And one more thing, suppose I want to see here the ratios also, so I can add a new row and I can apply the I can like search for the revenue KPIs. So these are my revenue KPIs. I'll just right click here and select all the level 0 descendants. So we have added some more KPIs under the predefined revenue KPIs. So let's see this. But because right now we have not added a member formula for the KPIs, we have just added member formula here. Only margin percent and contribution margin we get, because this is a predefined, so these formulas are already there. But if you want to see these sales growth percentage or these things, so for this we need to apply the member formula. So first I'll apply a formula here in my Excel sheet separately, and then we'll match the calculations, or we'll do the data validation with this. Okay, but in this way you can add some more drivers or accounts here in the rows. Okay, so in the next session I'll show you how you can apply the ratios member formula, but right now we have just tested for revenue from other products as well as revenue from trainings. So this is the way you can apply the member formula for each account, each ratios. The same procedure will be applied. Just the member formula should be validated, otherwise we cannot see the result. So I hope it is clear till now. So again, if you have any doubts, you can write us here for the www.bispsolutions.com. For now, I am just ending the session. So thank you so much for attending, guys.